The notice arrived at 6:47 p.m. while the bus was trapped between two highway exits.
Wet coats pressed against both sleeves of my laboratory sweatshirt.
The ceiling ventilation pushed overheated air into the aisle. A man standing behind me apologized each time the bus shifted and his briefcase touched the back of my leg. There was nowhere for either of us to move. My right heel slid half an inch when the driver braked. The rubber tread beneath that shoe had worn almost smooth. Every Sunday, before anyone else woke, I roughened it with a discarded lens edging stone over the kitchen sink. Temporary traction. Dark rubber powder. $92 delayed, 1 more week. My phone vibrated inside my hand. Final delivery acceptance notice. Responsible owner, Cora Ellis. Equipment obligation, $52,800. Evidence deadline, 24 hours from notice. The message stated that the treatment equipment had been delivered and accepted under my sole proprietor registration. My sole proprietor registration belonged to a weekend optical adjustment service I used for community fittings and small frame repairs. It had never purchased treatment equipment, operated from just a studio, or financed a skin treatment business. Unless I opened a dispute and submitted supporting evidence by 6:47 the following evening, the lender's servicing system would treat the delivery as uncontested and move the obligation into ordinary billing under my identity. The deadline would not decide legal liability forever. Missing it would make every later correction slower and harder. The bus could not stop before the next exit. I could not sit, could not step into a quiet corner, could not call the lender without 50 strangers hearing my name, account number, and the amount someone had placed beneath it. The screen moved slightly whenever the bus changed lanes. I gripped the overhead rail with my left hand. Read the notice again. Chrome facial analysis lamp, reclining treatment table, sterilizing cabinet, imaging equipment, software subscription, studio fixtures, $52,800. My jaw tightened until the back molars hurt. Outside the window, red taillights formed 2 unmoving lines. I counted them, then converted the balance into laboratory trays. How many pairs I finished in an ordinary shift? How much of each paycheck remained after taxes? How many shifts it would take if every dollar could go toward the debt? The calculation became useless before I reached the 3rd year. A passenger near the front asked the driver when we would move. "Next exit," he said. The lender notice included a small delivery photograph, compressed for the phone screen. A treatment room with pale walls. Equipment wrapped in plastic. A chrome magnifying lamp angled toward the camera. The receipt packet claimed I had accepted delivery at 2:14 that afternoon. At 2:14, I had been at Tray Station 6 edging progressive lenses for order group C118. I knew because one lens had arrived with the axis mark rotated, and I had stopped the batch before coding. The lab was 14 miles from Jessa's studio. I enlarged the photograph with 2 fingers. Pixels expanded. No additional detail appeared. The lamp's circular chrome housing held a distorted reflection. 2 figures. One in patterned clothing, one bent toward a signature pad. A shipping label curved across the metal. Letters reversed. The image was too compressed to identify anyone. It was enough to know the delivery photograph contained more than the equipment. The bus moved forward. Everyone shifted at once. The man behind me apologized again. I opened the dispute link before the next exit. The page asked, "Did you authorize the application?" "No." "Did you accept delivery?" "No." "Do you recognize the delivery location?" "Possibly." "Did you receive any equipment or financial benefit?" "No." I entered the notice number. The connection dropped when the bus passed beneath an overpass. The form returned to the beginning. I started again. At 7:02, the dispute portal issued a case number. It listed required evidence, identity statement, delivery objection, location evidence, attendance or travel confirmation, any documentation concerning the application contact information. The original delivery image could be requested after intake. I submitted the request immediately. At 7:11, the bus reached the next exit. I stepped onto the sidewalk beside a closed insurance office and called the lender. The representative confirmed the countdown. Your dispute has been opened, but the obligation is not removed. I understand. If credible evidence is received before finalization, the account can remain under expedited review. Does expedited review stop the deadline? It can pause final acceptance while the review is active. That depends on the material received. The delivery photograph is compressed in the notice. I need the original file. I see that request. I also need the delivery manifest and signed receipt. They can be released through the case portal. When? The original image may take several hours. The clock on my phone read 7:18, 23 hours and 29 minutes. Please document that I requested it at intake. I have. She gave me the representative reference number. No promise. No reassurance. Ordinary procedure moving against a clock. I reached the family house at 7:25. The kitchen light was on. Marilyn sat at the table recording a Money Without Shame video. A ring light faced her. Behind it, unpaid utility notices had been turned face down beneath a ceramic bowl. She smiled toward her phone. Financial mistakes do not make us bad people. Shame grows when families hide from one another. Jessa stood near the counter holding a fabric sample against a photograph of a curved reception desk. Paul sat beside the cold coffee pot sorting his medication pouch. Marilyn stopped recording when she saw me. Her public expression remained in place for half a second too long. You're late. I received a lender notice. Jessa looked at Marilyn. Marilyn widened her eyes. What lender? Treatment equipment. Jessa placed the fabric sample down. You knew the studio required financing. I knew you were comparing prices. You said you wanted to help. I did not authorize $52,800. Marilyn touched the neckline of her blouse. The gentleman kept turning the screen toward me. I clicked where he pointed. Why was my registration on the application? You were helping Jessa compare business structures. Why was my identification in the delivery packet? I don't know what was in a packet. Why does the lender say I accepted equipment today? Jessa crossed her arms. You offered to be a silent partner. No. You changed your mind when the launch page got attention. There has been no launch. The studio account is already active. Under whose name? She looked away. Marilyn said, This is exactly why families should not discuss technical paperwork while emotions are high. The obligation moves into ordinary billing tomorrow evening if I do not support the dispute. Paul stopped sorting the medication pouch. Please lower your voices. No one had raised one yet. I placed my phone on the table. The compressed delivery image remained open. Marilyn leaned toward it. I cannot see anything in that. Neither can I. I requested the original. Jessa glanced at the lamp. That proves delivery. It proves someone photographed equipment. You are doing that laboratory thing where you make ordinary details sound suspicious. The photograph says I was there. You were involved. I was at work. Marilyn exhaled. You were the only daughter with usable credit, Cora, and I thought helping your sister was what all those years of being responsible were for. The sentence arrived without hesitation. Then she heard herself. Her eyes widened again. I thought you had agreed. Those are different statements. You know I do not understand these electronic contracts. You understood which daughter had usable credit. Jessa stepped between the table and Marilyn. She is trying to humiliate Mom because the lender used the wrong wording. The lender used my identity. Paul pressed one hand against his chest. The movement was immediate. Practiced or real? I could not tell. I did not need to decide. Where is my medication pouch? He asked. It is in front of you, I said. This pressure is not safe. If you need medical help, I will call for it. I need everyone quiet. I need to know whether you saw Marilyn use my identification. His eyes dropped to the table. Do not make me choose between my wife and my daughter. That was not the question. My chest is tightening. I reached for my phone. Should I call for medical help? No. I need silence. I will keep my voice level. Did you see her use my identification? Marilyn answered for him. Paul does not understand digital paperwork either. I looked at him. He kept his eyes on the medication pouch. No answer. The lender portal updated at 7:38. Delivery package available. I opened it. Signed receipt. Equipment serial list. Studio room number. Copy of my identification. Application contact email. Not mine. Application phone number. Jessa's studio line. The signed receipt carried a name shaped like mine. Not close enough to study from the phone. Signer role. Responsible owner representative. Jessa said, that means I signed for you. You had no authority. You told me to keep the delivery moving. When? During planning. Show me. You do not document every family conversation. I document every supplier authorization. Marilyn touched Jessa's wrist. Do not let her pull you into one of her audits. I emailed my laboratory supervisor. Subject: urgent limited attendance confirmation. I requested only clock-in time. Station assignment. Tray activity between 1:30 and 3. Clock out or building departure time. No prescription information. No customer names. My supervisor responded that formal confirmation had to come through HR. She copied the attendance desk. Estimated turnaround? Before 5 a.m., the clock read 7:46. 23 hours and 1 minute. I opened the original image request again. Still pending. Then noticed another portal attachment. Required contribution verification. Amount: $17,400. Source account ending in 4 digits I recognized. Kayla's education reserve. My daughter's account. I stopped breathing for 1 full second. Not because I was confused, because the number connected 2 different rooms inside my life. Jessa's curved desk. Kayla's future. I opened the education account app through the contributor profile saved on my phone. That view showed contributions and limited transaction notices. It did not expose the separate custodian approval channel. Account balance. Reduced. Recent transfer. $17,400. Destination abbreviated. Jessa Ellis Studio Lease Escrow. Marilyn reached for the phone. What are you looking at? I moved it away. Kayla's account. Her face changed. No helpless confusion. Calculation first, then concern. That money was not earning enough. It funded the studio lease. Temporarily. Who authorized it? You have always said investing in Kayla's future matters. A treatment studio is not her education account. If Jessa succeeds, the whole family becomes more stable. Who approved the transfer? Marilyn looked at Paul. Paul looked at the floor. Jessa said, Mom said the account allowed family-directed investment. Did you see the account terms? No. Did you receive the money? The lease escrow did. That is a yes. You want the studio to fail. I want Kayla's money restored. Marilyn pressed both palms against the table. Reporting this will create a conflict Kayla may never recover from. She may never recover from losing $17,400. Children need grandparents and aunts. They also need adults who do not spend their education reserve. You are threatening family contact over a financial misunderstanding? I have not threatened contact. You are creating conditions where people will not feel safe around you. The ring light remained on. Its white circle reflected in the kitchen window. Behind it, Marilyn's phone still displayed the paused frame from Money Without Shame. Her smile! Hands folded. Utility notices hidden beneath the bowl. I opened an education account inquiry through the ordinary service channel. Relevant transaction only. Withdrawal date. Amount. Destination. Authority used. The system created a second case number. No immediate reversal. No restored balance. 2 clocks now moved at different speeds. The equipment loan had 23 hours. Kayla's recovery could take weeks. At 8:03, I went upstairs and opened my laptop. The apartment application folder sat on the desktop. Provisional approval. Debt verification pending. Move-in date 3 weeks away. Cargo van reservation saved, but not paid. Separate phone plan researched. Utility transfer forms incomplete. I had been preparing to leave the family house quietly. Not because of the studio, because 12 years of temporary emergencies had become the permanent structure of the household. The loan could destroy the apartment approval before I reached the door. I downloaded the lender packet into a folder. Annual documents, due not month. The delivery photograph inside the packet was still compressed. File size too small. I logged portal receipt time, harms, dimensions, case number. Then made a working copy for ordinary viewing. Zoom, no sharpening, no filters. The chrome lamp reflection expanded into blocks. Figure 1. Quilted clothing, large squares. Possibly Marilyn's housecoat. Figure 2. Dark treatment uniform. Bent toward signature pad. Possible left hand visible. Reflected label. Reversed characters. Possible room number. Nothing firm enough to submit as identity. I wrote, lead only. Requires original file and independent comparison. At 8:31, Marilyn knocked once and entered without waiting. She carried a mug of tea. I brought something warm. I did not take it. She placed it beside the laptop. You look exhausted. I received the notice less than 2 hours ago. You are turning it into an emergency. It has a deadline. Deadlines are designed to frighten people into acting before they understand. The lender already delivered the equipment to Jessa's studio, under my ownership. You were helping. No. Marilyn sat on the edge of the bed. Your sister finally has something visible. I had been selected to lead a quality line. That is different. How? You are secure. My shoes do not have tread. That is your choice. You never prioritize presentation. The sentence opened a memory I had not touched since the recognition breakfast. The countdown was already active. The dispute was open. Only then did the old image enter. Paper certificate beneath laboratory lights. Progressive lens quality lead. Paul had promised to attend. At 8:10 that morning, Marilyn called him from the parking lot. Jessa's logo designer needed both parents to explain the family story. Paul left before my name was called. That afternoon, Marilyn posted a photograph of him holding Jessa's gold studio logo. Caption, "We'll always show up when our daughters build their futures." My certificate had remained inside a manila folder beneath the laboratory pickup counter until the end of shift. Marilyn now looked at the compressed reflection on my screen. You always make your work sound more important than people. My work places me 14 miles from the delivery. You can explain that quietly without destroying Jessa. The loan uses my identity. If it becomes final, we can arrange payments. She smiled weakly. The family. Which account? You would work it out with my income. You earn consistently. That is why you used me. No one used you. You used the phrase usable credit? I misspoke. You clicked where the representative pointed, but you knew whose credit was usable. Marilyn stood. This tone will make the lender think you are retaliating. The lender will review records. People review presentation too. She looked at my sweatshirt. A white line of edging dust crossed one sleeve. You need to appear calm. I am calm. You look angry. I am angry. That will not help. She left the tea. I poured it into the bathroom sink after she closed the door. At 9:04, Jessa posted a studio video. Not publicly. Into the family group. Chrome treatment lamp assembled. Curved reception desk behind it. Branded towels stacked beside the imaging station. She stood in the dark studio uniform and held the lamp by its circular housing. Her left thumb crossed the chrome edge. A pale, crescent-shaped scar curved near the joint. I paused the video. Did not download it as proof yet. Recorded the public or shared source. Timestamp. Visible uniform. Visible scar. Visible lamp. Comparison lead. The reflection in the compressed lender image showed a pale mark near the hand over the signature pad. Too small to call a scar. Possible consistency only. At 9:22, Marilyn uploaded a Money Without Shame clip recorded earlier that day. She wore a quilted housecoat beneath a cardigan. Large blue and cream squares. Dark stitching around the cuff. The figure reflected in the lamp wore a similar pattern. Again, consistent with. Not confirmed. The delivery time was 2:14. The Money Without Shame clip metadata showed it had been recorded in the family kitchen at 12:36. Same housecoat. No proof Marilyn wore it 2 hours later. But the pattern entered the comparison file. At 9:41, the lender released the delivery manifest. Delivery location, Jessa Ellis Treatment Studio. Treatment Room 2. Recipient contact, Jessa's studio line. Receipt signer, Jessa Ellis. Responsible owner identification attached, Cora Ellis. The reverse label inside the lamp did not need to prove the address by itself. The manifest could confirm whatever characters the original image preserved. I logged each source separately. Manifest proves delivery location and signer. Compressed image suggests 2 reflected figures and reversed label. Attendance request may exclude Cora. Public videos may support clothing and hand comparison. At 10:03, Paul came upstairs. He stood in the doorway, holding the medication pouch. "Your mother is crying." I have not shouted. She feels accused. She used my identification. She says she thought you agreed. Did you hear me agree? He touched his chest. I waited. If you need medical help, I will call. I cannot be in the middle. You are in the house. That is not the same. Did you see my identification beside the equipment documents? He stared at the floorboards. Marilyn handles papers. Did you see it? I saw an envelope. What envelope? Your business documents. Who had them? His hand tightened around the pouch. Please stop. Marilyn? He closed his eyes. Jessa needed proof of family support. That is not permission. I thought you would help if the studio succeeded. You thought I would pay if it failed. He looked toward the stairs. I am not feeling well. Do you want medical assistance? No. Then answer. He left. The door remained open behind him. At 10:20, the lender portal refreshed. Authorized delivery image available. File size, 18.6 megabytes. Dimensions large enough to preserve the chrome reflection as captured. Upload timestamp linked to the delivery case. I downloaded it into optional. Do not move. Recorded the file name. File size. Dimensions. Portal receipt time. Then copied it to a second ordinary storage location. The lender retained its own version. I created one working copy. No changes to the original. When I opened the working file, the treatment room expanded across the monitor. Plastic wrap folds. Serial labels. Signature pad. Chrome lamp. Inside the circular housing, the reflection no longer looked like two colored blocks. It held two people. One in Marilyn's blue and cream quilted housecoat. One in Jessa's dark studio uniform. The reflected shipping label curved between them. Letters reversed. A left thumb rested beside the signature screen. Near the joint, a pale crescent crossed the skin. I did not call it proof yet. I reached for Nora Pike's scratched loop. 20 hours and 27 minutes remained. Nora's loop fit inside the center of my palm. Brass rim dulled by years of fingertips. Black casing chipped near the lower edge. The glass itself looked too thick for something that weighed only several ounces. Held against the eye long enough, it pulled at the muscles around the socket. The casing still carried a faint mixture of lens cleaner and warm plastic. I did not place it against the computer monitor. A loop could enlarge the pixel structure of a screen until the grid became more visible than the image. It could not create detail. I opened the original file properties instead. Helmet, delivery case number, creation time,
Upload time.
dimensions, 18.6 megabytes. I compared those values with the lender portal receipt.
They matched.
The lender retained its own original. My first folder contained the unchanged download. My second storage location contained an identical copy. Only then did I duplicate the file into a working folder. Working copy, viewing only. At the top of my notes, I wrote, no sharpening, no noise reduction, no contrast reconstruction, no replacement pixels, no claim beyond visible detail. The chrome lamp occupied less than 1/20th of the full delivery image. Inside its circular housing, the room compressed around the camera. Curved metal pulled the outer edges inward. Straight lines bowed. Figures became narrower near the sides and wider toward the center. A mirror reversal turned the shipping label backward. The reflection did not show the room as a flat photograph would. That mattered. If I treated the curve like an ordinary mirror, I could place people in the wrong position or mistake a folded sleeve for a hand. I created a centering grid over the working view. Simple horizontal and vertical lines. No image modification beneath them. The same type of grid I use when checking whether a high prescription lens had been blocked away from its marked center. The grid did not identify anyone. It gave me a way to describe where the light had landed. Figure 1 stood behind the lamp and slightly left of the signature pad. Blue and cream quilted pattern. Dark cuff line. One arm angled forward. A pale rectangle beside the hand. Possibly identification. Figure 2 stood nearer the signature pad. Dark uniform. Torso bent. Left hand visible close to the screen. A pale crescent near the thumb joint. Between them, the shipping label curved across the chrome. 3 characters remained sharp enough to consider. A reversed a reversed M, possibly another 2 or an R distorted by the housing. I wrote, possible room code. Requires ordinary flip and manifest comparison. I duplicated the working view, flipped it horizontally. The reflection now read in the direction the physical label would have appeared before the chrome reversed it. The first visible line contained Room 2. The lower line contained only partial letters, J-E-S. Then, compression narrowed the remainder into reflected light. I did not complete the name. The delivery manifest already stated, Jessa Ellis Treatment Studio. Treatment Room 2. The image supported the room number. The manifest supplied the complete location. Neither source needed the other to pretend it contained more. I returned to the full photograph. The person in the dark uniform leaned over the signature pad. The delivery receipt identified Jessa Ellis as signer. That did not mean the reflected figure had to be Jessa. Someone else could sign using her name. Someone in a similar uniform could stand beside the pad. The receipt and reflection were consistent. Not yet conclusive. The person in the quilted clothing held the pale rectangle close to the equipment packet. The lender packet included a copy of my identification. The photograph did not show enough of the rectangle to read a name or photograph. It showed only size, color, and placement. I wrote, possible identification card. Cannot identify document from reflection alone. At 10:52, the lender portal displayed a new message. Evidence finalization remained scheduled. Time left, 19 hours and 55 minutes. No review pause yet. I uploaded nothing. A rushed observation could weaken the parts I could prove. The house had become quieter downstairs. Paul's bedroom door closed. The television remained on in Marilyn's room without anyone speaking over it. Jessa left through the rear door at 10:38. I heard her studio keys strike the metal door frame. No one came upstairs again. I opened Marilyn's public Money Without Shame page on my personal laptop. The video uploaded at 9:22 showed her at the kitchen table. blue and cream quilted housecoat, large squares. One dark blue block crossing the left shoulder, cream block beneath it, dark stitching around the cuff. I paused the video when she lifted a utility envelope. Saved the public link. Recorded the upload time. Captured a still for comparison without removing the original context. Then opened a second public video from 3 days earlier. Same housecoat. Marilyn turned toward the kitchen window. The cuff rolled back enough to reveal a repair seam running diagonally through one cream square. Inside the chrome reflection, the quilted figure's cuff contained a short, dark line in the same relative area. The curved surface compressed it. I could not call the seam identical. I wrote, pattern and cuff construction consistent with Marilyn's housecoat. Identification requires lender comparison and additional context. The housecoat was distinctive. That made it useful. Distinctive did not make it exclusive. Someone else could borrow it. A similar product could exist. Marilyn's presence had to be supported by more than fabric. I checked the application contact history released in the delivery packet. The equipment representative had communicated through Jessa's studio number. One identity document upload came from the studio account. A confirmation message had been sent to Marilyn's household email because she was listed as administrative contact. The record did not show who held my identification during delivery. It showed Marilyn had participated in the application communication. I placed that source beside the housecoat comparison. Separate questions. Application contact. Physical presence. At 11:16, I opened Jessa's studio video from the family group. The original remained in the thread. I made a local viewing copy. She stood beside the assembled treatment lamp, wearing a charcoal uniform with a pale vertical seam beneath the right shoulder. The reflected figure's uniform showed a similar light line. The chrome curve widened the center of the torso and narrowed the shoulder. I wrote, uniform, consistent, not unique. Then I paused the video where Jessa gripped the lamp. Her left thumb lay against the circular housing. A pale crescent crossed the skin near the lower joint. Not a fresh cut. Flat, smooth. A scar I had seen for years without considering evidence. She got it at 16 after breaking a glass cosmetic jar in the bathroom sink. I remembered driving her to the clinic. Memory was not proof. The public studio video showed the mark clearly enough to compare. I created a side-by-side viewing sheet. Left, Jessa's public video. Right, working crop from the delivery reflection. The reflected mark had fewer visible edges. One pale crescent in the same general location. The thumb angle also matched the position expected from someone using the signature pad. I wrote, mark consistent with Jessa's documented left thumb scar. Reflection resolution alone insufficient for definitive personal identification. The receipt carried Jessa's name. The studio video placed her with the same lamp and scar. The delivery manifest placed the equipment in her treatment room. The reflection placed a left hand with a similar crescent beside the signature pad. Together, those facts were stronger than any single enlarged shape. At 11:39, I printed 3 high-resolution viewing sheets on my personal printer. Full delivery image. Chrome lamp crop. Comparison page with the public sources. The printer introduced its own dots and color changes. I labeled every page. Viewing print, not original evidence. The loop helped me inspect whether a line belonged to the source image or the printer pattern. The gray pixels forming the thumb crescent followed the digital image. They were not a streak from the printer. The housecoat cuff line also existed in the screen file. The incomplete letters beneath room 2 did not become clearer through magnification. I did not fill them. Nora had trained me on a coding defect during my first laboratory year. A lens had looked clean beneath ceiling light. A customer would probably have worn it without knowing why the right side of the room felt slightly brighter. Nora placed the lens beneath the inspection lamp. One reflected line split into 2 near the edge. I said, "They may never notice." She held the lens toward me. Clarity is not comfort. It is the moment distortion becomes measurable. The defect had existed before the customer noticed. Our job was not to decide whether the truth would inconvenience the order schedule. We measured it, marked it, rejected the lens. I wrote the same rule at the bottom of my reflection log. Not because Nora's words proved anything, because they prevented me from converting recognition into certainty. At 12:08 a.m., my education account inquiry updated. Transfer review open. $17,400 remained missing. The service notice identified the destination as Studio Lease Escrow. It requested Account Authority Review, Transfer Request, Electronic Confirmation History, No Recovery Decision. I saved the notice, then opened the family phone bill. My number, Paul's number, Marilyn's, Jessa's studio line, Kayla's line. Every device under the account I paid. The lender's application had used Jessa's studio number, but household confirmation messages could still reach phones attached to my plan. Reliability converted into infrastructure. My registration, my income, my phone account, my daughter's savings. They had not selected one document. They had selected the person already holding every loose part of the household. For years, I believed seeing a problem early made me responsible for solving it. A utility balance appeared, and I covered it before the service stopped. Paul withdrew from a difficult appointment call, and I finished the conversation. Marilyn said a bill was too technical, and I translated it. Jessa lost another room, another partnership, another month of income, and I was told to protect Kayla from family rupture by helping quietly. A corrective lens can compensate for refractive error. It cannot consent to carrying every distortion placed in front of it. My family had turned me into corrective material. They had stopped asking whether the prescription belonged to me. They only cared that I could make the world look level after they bent it. The loan did not come from a misunderstanding about my reliability. It came from planning around it. Marilyn believed I would dispute, calculate, cover Kayla, protect Paul, preserve the mortgage, and eventually pay whatever remained. My responsibility had become their evidence of permission. I closed the phone account page without changing anything yet. The loan deadline remained first. At 12:31, I submitted a limited evidence request to the lender for application contact history and delivery device verification. No demand for internal system details. Only which phone received delivery confirmation, which email received the acceptance notice. Was any authenticated acceptance completed through a device associated with me? The portal acknowledged the request. 18 hours and 16 minutes remained. My hands had begun to shake from caffeine and no food. I had not noticed until the cursor moved when I tried to select a file. The kitchen was occupied. Marilyn had returned to the table downstairs. I heard the ring light stand move. She was recording again after midnight, probably explaining why families should not react from fear. I put Nora's loop into its case and drove to the laboratory. The finishing department operated through the night. Not my shift. The pickup counter remained staffed because retail orders moved between locations before morning. I carried personal laptop, printed viewing sheets, loop, notebook. No lender file entered a laboratory workstation. No customer equipment touched it. Leonard Shaw sat at his repair bench beside the pickup counter. He removed a loose temple screw instead of tightening it against damaged threads, then placed the frame flat on a white cloth. Your shift start early? No. Then sit. He poured hot water over a tea bag and set the cup beside me. Money can buy another frame, he said. Loyalty warns you before the lens drops, even when there is more profit in repairing the break. Family is not the person who borrows your eyes until the room goes dark. It is the person who hands them back while you can still see the exit. He replaced the screw, checked the alignment, and placed the frame in the pickup tray only after both lenses sat level. He did not ask what I was examining. I held the warm cup until my hands stopped moving. At 1:07, I opened my personal laptop on the empty stool beside me. The laboratory noise remained behind the pickup doors. Edging wheels, water spray, tray carts, barcode tones. My own department working without me. I reviewed the full delivery image again. This time, I mapped light sources. The room's primary overhead light created a bright vertical highlight across the lamp. A secondary light from the doorway produced a smaller white spot near the edge. Both reflected figures stood between those highlights. The quilted figure's arm extended toward the camera side of the equipment packet. The dark uniform figure stood closer to the signature pad. I could not determine exact physical distance from the curved housing. I could establish relative position. The person in the uniform occupied the signature pad side. The person in the housecoat occupied the identification packet side. I marked relative positions consistent with Jessa signing while Marilyn holds or stands beside identification materials. The word consistent mattered. I did not write, photograph proves Marilyn held Cora's identification. The pale rectangle could be another card or document. The lender's own original review could examine it with access to the delivery packet. At 1:28, the lender portal supplied the delivery device record. Electronic receipt completed on the delivery company's signature pad. Signer entered. Jessa Ellis. Confirmation text sent to Jessa studio number. Responsible owner acknowledgement email sent to. An address created for the studio account. No authenticated confirmation from my personal number. No authenticated confirmation from my personal email. No device associated with my prior lender profile completed acceptance. I added those facts to the submission index. They supported absence of my acceptance. They did not identify Marilyn. At 1:46, a message arrived from my supervisor. HR had verified that the attendance desk would issue the limited confirmation before 5. She added, "Tray records show you were active during the delivery window. HR will provide the formal version." A supervisor's message was useful. The lender would need the formal attendance record. I did not submit the informal note as final proof. At 2:03, I built the evidence package. Document 1. Identity Statement. I did not authorize the equipment application. I did not accept delivery. I did not authorize Jessa or Marilyn to sign on my behalf. Document 2. Original delivery photograph. Unchanged. File values recorded. Comment 3. Viewing notes. No enhanced image. No conclusion based on unavailable pixels. Comment 4. Delivery manifest. Treatment room 2. Jessa signer. Studio number. Contact 5. Reflection comparison. Housecoat pattern consistent with Marilyn's public videos. Uniform and thumb mark consistent with Jessa's public studio video. Mirrored room 2, consistent with manifest. Document 6. Application contact record. Studio email. Studio phone. Marilyn administrative contact. No authenticated acceptance from my personal channels. Comment 7. Attendance confirmation placeholder. Formal HR document pending. I did not upload the placeholder. The lender portal warned that submitting a package did not automatically pause finalization. Time left, 16 hours and 44 minutes. I uploaded documents 1 through 6 at 2:03. The portal confirmed, files received. Review not yet complete. At 2:17, the lender assigned an expedited reviewer. The case activity showed that the lender accessed its preserved original delivery image, not my working copy, not my printed crop. The reviewer downloaded original photograph, manifest, receipt, application history, my submitted notes. I saved the activity page. At 2:29, the reviewer asked, "Can you identify the reflected individuals with certainty?" I answered, "No. The image contains features consistent with Marilyn Ellis and Jessa Ellis. The manifest, receipt, application contacts, and public comparison sources provide independent support. My principal claim is that I was not present and did not accept delivery." The reply took less than a minute. No performance. No attempt to sound more certain because the deadline frightened me. At 2:41, the reviewer requested the original public source links. I supplied. Marilyn's same-day Money Without Shame video. Earlier housecoat video showing cuff repair. Jessa's studio video showing uniform, left thumb scar, and lamp. The public material remained available to the reviewer. I did not upload unrelated family photographs. At 3:06, Jessa called. I answered because her number appeared in the Linda contact records and because I wanted her statements preserved through ordinary messaging if she chose to send them afterward. Withdraw the dispute. No. The lender froze the equipment account. It entered review. The launch appointment is tomorrow. You accepted equipment under my identity? I signed delivery as representative. Without authority. Mom said you agreed. I did not. You always help after acting angry. That is not authorization. You are going to destroy my lease. Kayla's account paid the contribution. That was temporary. Who authorized it? Mom handled the family accounts. Did you know where the money came from? She said it was available family capital. Did she say education reserve? Jessa stopped speaking. Then she said the account was not being used. That is not an answer. I did not open the transfer. You benefited from it. So did the family. Kayla did not. You always make yourself the only responsible person in the room. No. I am identifying the responsible owner listed on the loan. You wanted studio authority. I wanted my identity removed. You are jealous because people see what I do. I finish several hundred lenses a day that customers see through. That is not the same as building a brand. No. She heard agreement as weakness. Her voice softened. Then let me have this. With my debt, we would make payments. From what revenue? The launch. No clients have paid. You do not understand beauty services. You do not understand $52,800 under my name. She ended the call. 3 messages followed. You said you would support me. Mom heard you. Do not punish Kayla by splitting the family. I preserved them. Did not answer. At 3:33, the Education Account Service released the transfer request. Initiating profile. Marilyn Ellis, Household Administrator. Destination. Jessa Ellis Studio Lease Escrow. Electronic confirmation sent to the household email Marilyn controlled. The document stated that the request characterized the transfer as Educational Family Enterprise Contribution. No such category existed in the account's standard options. The phrase had been entered into a free text purpose field. The service had not yet determined whether Marilyn's access allowed the withdrawal. The record proved she initiated it, not whether the system should have permitted it. I sent the document to the Education Account Recovery case, not to the equipment lender. The 2 disputes remained separate. At 3:58, Marilyn arrived at the laboratory pickup counter. The doors had opened briefly for an early retail driver, and she followed him inside before Leonard could redirect her. She wore the same blue and cream housecoat beneath a winter coat. Not because she had dressed for my evidence, because she had left the house quickly. The diagonal repair seam crossed the cuff. She saw the comparison page beside my laptop. Her face became still, then helpless. You photographed me without permission. I used your public videos. That is my private clothing. You published the videos. You are using laboratory technology against your mother. My laptop is personal. She looked toward the finishing doors. You brought a family image into your workplace. The lender's delivery image. That room was chaotic. Anyone could be reflected. Yes. She seemed surprised. You admit it. I told the lender the clothing is consistent with yours. I did not say the reflection alone proves identity. Then stop. The application lists your email as administrative contact. I clicked where the gentleman pointed. You initiated Kayla's transfer. Her eyes moved away. That account was not helping her today. It belonged to her future. Jessa's studio helps the family today. You labeled it an educational family enterprise contribution. I was trying to explain. You understood the free text field. Marilyn touched one hand to her forehead. You enjoy making me sound calculating. I am reading the form. You know, electronic forms confuse me. You selected the destination account. Jessa gave me the information. You entered the amount. She told me what the lease required. You knew the money came from Kayla. I knew the family had savings. Her name is on the account. Marilyn's mouth tightened. Leonard remained at his bench. He did not look toward us. Did not enter the conversation. Marilyn lowered her voice. Come home before your father becomes ill. If he needs help, call for it. He needs peace. I need the attendance confirmation. You are choosing paperwork over his health. I am not preventing medical care. Your sister may lose everything. The loan is not mine. It can be managed. By me. By family. Which account? She looked toward the public doors. No answer. At 4:17, the lender changed the case status. Credible evidence received. Final acceptance paused, pending expedited review. The 24-hour deadline remained visible. The account would not finalize automatically while review continued. That was not removal. It meant the evidence had reached the system before the closing window. Marilyn read the status from my screen. You stopped the loan. I paused final acceptance. You knew what that would do to Jessa. I knew what final acceptance would do to me. She turned toward Leonard. Can you tell her family matters more than being technically correct? Leonard tightened a temple screw. Checked the frame. Placed it in the pickup tray. I repair frames, he said. Nothing else. Marilyn left through the public entrance. The housecoat disappeared beneath her winter coat. At 4:29, I completed a short intake call with a civil identity and account attorney whose office had returned my online request. I sent only the lender notice, the 2 case numbers, and the limited education transfer notice. She did not predict either outcome. She agreed to receive future demands concerning the studio, my registration, Kayla's account, or reimbursement after the lender issued its determination. Her engagement email included a plain white business card. At 4:36, the lender reviewer requested a written statement from the delivery company. The delivery manifest already showed Jessa as signer. The new request asked whether the delivery worker recalled the responsible owner being present. The answer would not arrive before the kitchen meeting. The lender did not need memory if the objective records were enough. At 4:48, the attendance desk sent the formal confirmation. Employer letterhead. My name. Shift date. Clock in. 7:52 a.m. Station. Progressive finishing, tray station 6. Documented tray activity. Continuous through 3:06 p.m., except scheduled break inside the facility. Building departure, 5:11 p.m. Delivery time, 2:14 p.m. Distance between laboratory and studio, approximately 14 miles, based on addresses supplied in the lender request. No customer names. No prescriptions. No unrelated employee data. The attendance record did not identify who accepted the equipment. It excluded me. I uploaded the confirmation at 4:50. The lender's activity history showed the reviewer accessed it at 4:53. 14 hours remained before the original deadline. The case already held. An unchanged delivery image. A receipt, signed by Jessa. A manifest, naming Jessa's treatment room. Application contacts controlled through the studio and Marilyn. No authenticated acceptance from my personal devices. A reflection consistent with the 2 people connected to those records. And formal proof that I had been finishing lenses 14 miles away while someone else stood beside the signature pad. The countdown had not ended. But the question had changed. It was no longer whether I could see enough inside the chrome lamp. It was whether Marilyn and Jessa could explain why every independent record placed them around a delivery completed in my name, while my own work records placed me somewhere else. At 5:02 a.m., the lender reviewer asked for one consolidated submission index. Not new evidence. A map. The case already contained more than a dozen files, and the reviewer needed each document tied to one question. I opened a clean page. Question 1. Was I physically present when delivery occurred? Source: laboratory attendance confirmation. Clock in at 7:52 a.m. Continuous tray activity through 3:06 p.m. Building departure at 5:11 p.m. Delivery at 2:14 p.m. 14 miles between locations. Question 2. Did I authenticate acceptance through my own communication channels? Source: application and delivery device history. No confirmation from my personal phone. No confirmation from my personal email. No device associated with my existing lender profile completed acceptance. Question 3. Where was the equipment delivered? Source: delivery manifest. Jessa Ellis Treatment Studio. Treatment Room 2. Question 4. Who signed the delivery receipt? Source: receipt and signature pad record. Jessa Ellis. Question 5. What does the delivery photograph show? Source: lender's preserved original. 2 reflected figures. 1. In quilted clothing consistent with Marilyn's publicly recorded house coat. 1 in a studio uniform consistent with Jessa's public video. A left thumb mark consistent with Jessa's visible scar. Reflected Room 2 label consistent with delivery manifest. I wrote beneath the 5th question: the reflection supports physical presence. It does not independently determine application authority or account responsibility. Question 6. Who participated in application communication? Source: application contact history. Jessa's studio phone. Studio email. Marilyn's household email listed as administrative contact. Identity document upload through the studio account. Question 7. Did I receive the equipment or benefit from its delivery? Source: delivery address, serial list. Studio lease documents. My written statement. No equipment delivered to my residence or workplace. No studio ownership document assigning me an interest. No payment issued to me. The index fit on 2 pages. I reviewed every sentence for verbs that exceeded the source. The attendance record excluded me. It did not place Marilyn at the studio. The reflection placed 2 consistent figures around the lamp. It did not prove who created the application. The contact history placed Marilyn and Jessa inside the process. It did not prove either understood every term. The receipt identified Jessa as signer. It did not create authority on my behalf. The combined record answered what no single image could. At 5:11, I submitted the index. The portal responded. Consolidated package received. Expedited identity review continues. 13 hours and 36 minutes remain before the original deadline. The automatic finalization stayed paused. The obligation remained attached to the dispute case, not removed. Downstairs, the ring light switched off. A chair scraped against kitchen tile. Marilyn's bedroom door closed. Jessa's studio line appeared on my phone again. I let it ring. The lender reviewer sent another question. Did you provide your identification to either Marilyn Ellis or Jessa Ellis for a legitimate purpose before this application? The answer required precision. Marilyn kept a household document folder containing copies of insurance cards, utility records, Paul's appointment information, tax correspondence, emergency contacts. A copy of my sole proprietor registration had been inside the folder because I once needed Marilyn to hand it to me during a phone call with a supplier. My identification had also been copied 2 years earlier when Marilyn helped transfer the family phone plan. Access to an old copy did not equal permission for a new loan. I answered. Marilyn Ellis had prior household access to copies of some identifying and business documents. I did not provide those documents for this equipment application, did not authorize their reuse, and did not authorize Jessa Ellis to receive delivery as my representative. The reply entered the case at 5:18. That distinction mattered more than pretending Marilyn had broken into something. She did not need secret access. She had years of ordinary family access to documents because I had been the person expected to solve ordinary family problems. The abuse began when access was renamed consent. At 5:22, the Education Account Service sent the limited authority history. That case remains separate from the lender review. I opened it in another folder. Kayla Recovery. The account listed Marilyn as household administrative helper. Her original permissions allowed her to upload contribution records, update household contact information, view limited balance notices, prepare a transfer request for approval by the account custodian. She did not hold unrestricted authority to remove funds for a studio lease. The service history showed that a transfer request had been prepared through Marilyn's profile. The approval step used an electronic confirmation sent to an old household email. The account custodian field listed me. The confirmation did not originate from my current personal email. The service placed the transfer under authorization review. $17,400 remained in the lease escrow. The notice did not promise recovery. It instructed the escrow administrator not to release any remaining refundable balance while the authority review continued. I saved the document, then called the Education Account Service. The representative confirmed the limits. Does the hold affect the equipment loan review? No. These are separate accounts and separate processes. Has the money returned to Kayla's balance? No. Has the studio received all of it? The statement shows transfer into lease escrow. We do not yet have the escrow disbursement details. Does the administrative helper role permit Marilyn Ellis to approve the transfer? That is under review. I recorded the case note number. No conclusion added. At 5:31, a new lender attachment appeared. Applications funding support. The studio had supplied it to show that the required contribution and startup expenses existed before equipment delivery. Because the application identified me as responsible owner, the lender released the pages relevant to my identity dispute. The packet contained lease escrow confirmation, studio startup ledger, owner contribution summary, 3 outgoing payments, 1 to the reception desk vendor, 1 to the launch event company, 1 labeled Paul Ellis, Optical Consulting. Amount $3,500. The payment date fell 6 days after Paul's former optical employer withdrew his part-time offer. I stared at the line. Not because Paul receiving money automatically proved knowledge. It did not. The ledger proved the studio paid him. The timing created a question. The purpose label claimed optical consulting. Paul had not worked inside Jess's studio. He had not selected the facial analysis lamp, had not reviewed the sterilizing cabinet, had not negotiated the lensless decorative mirrors she called optical accents. At most, he had looked at the floor plan during one family dinner and said the reception desk should not block the hallway. I saved the lender packet, added a note, $3,500 studio payment to Paul. Purpose requires explanation, does not independently establish knowledge of loan or career interference. The number belonged to the family conflict, not the lender's core identity question. I did not add it to the consolidated loan index. At 5:38, Paul appeared in my doorway. He wore a gray undershirt and held his medication pouch against his stomach. Your mother says you are collecting private financial records. The lender released documents submitted under an application naming me as responsible owner. Jessa paid me for advice. $3,500. His eyes moved toward the laptop. It was temporary consulting. What did you consult on? The client experience. What did you produce? I spoke with her. Did you write anything? No. Did you inspect equipment? No. Did you review the lease? Not formally. Why $3,500? His hand rose to his chest. I placed my phone on the desk. If you need medical help, I will call. I need this questioning to stop. You came into my room. Because Marilyn is frightened. Why did the studio pay you 6 days after your job offer disappeared? His face changed. The chest pressure did not disappear. Something else arrived beside it. Recognition.
How do you know the date?
You asked me to read the employer email when they canceled. That was private. You forwarded it to me. I needed help understanding it. I helped. You said they changed staffing plans.
That is what the message said.
They had offered me hours. Yes.
Then someone called. I watched him.
Who? Paul looked toward the hallway.
I don't know.
Did the employer preserve the call?
He did not answer.
Paul. His eyes stayed on the floor. They said the person identified herself as family. Did they give you the recording? Where is it?
I sent it to you.
I searched my old messages. Paul. Return offer. 6 months earlier. An email forwarded from Armitage Optical. Subject: follow-up regarding customer support position. The employer wrote that it had received a family safety concern after extending Paul's part-time offer. Because the role involved customer adjustments and frame handling, the company suspended the start date pending clarification. Paul had not responded to their request for an independent fitness confirmation. Instead, he told us the offer had disappeared. An audio attachment sat beneath the email. I had not opened it. At the time, Paul asked me only to explain the written message. When I suggested he answer the employer and provide whatever work capacity documentation they required, he pressed his hand to his chest and said returning was no longer worth the stress. I had accepted the withdrawal as his decision. The voicemail had remained inside the forwarded email. Ordinary preservation. No hidden recording. No access to his employer's private system. Paul moved closer to the desk. Do not play that! Why? It will upset everyone. Have you heard it? Yes. Who is speaking? His mouth tightened. I opened the attachment properties. Original sender, Armitage Optical. File created on the date the employer received the voicemail. Duration, 31 seconds. Callback number visible in the employer's note. The number belonged to Jessa's personal phone. I did not play the recording yet. The kitchen meeting had not begun. The lender decision remained pending. But the source now existed. Jessa called them, I said. Paul gripped the medication pouch. She believed I was not ready. Did you ask her to call? No. Did Marilyn know? His eyes closed. That was enough to show the question had reached something real. Not enough to answer it. Did Marilyn know? She said Jessa was worried. Before or after the offer was canceled. Cora, if you need medical help, I will call. I do not need a performance. Neither do I. You are taking every mistake and putting it into one story. I have not played the voicemail. Then leave it alone. You accepted studio money 6 days later. That had nothing to do with the job. What was it for? Family consulting. You did no work. I supported Jessa by staying dependent on the studio. His face hardened. You think employment is simple because you never stopped working. No. You don't know what it is like to walk back into a place after years away. You had an offer. I was afraid. That is different from Jessa removing it. She thought she was protecting customers. Did you? He looked toward the hall again. Marilyn said the studio would give me a role without judgment. What role? She was still defining it. The ledger says optical consulting. It was startup support. What did you support? He raised his voice. I supported my daughter. The bedroom door opened across the hall. Marilyn stepped into view, wearing the blue and cream housecoat. Paul immediately lowered his head. She looked from him to my laptop. You are interrogating your father before dawn. I asked about a studio payment. He deserves something after years of helping us. 6 days after his job offer was canceled. Marilyn's expression remained soft. That employer was not prepared to accommodate him. Jessa contacted them. She expressed concern. Did you ask her to? No. Paul looked at Marilyn. Only a slight movement. She saw it. Adjusted. I may have said he was anxious about returning. You knew Jessa called? Families talk. Did you know before she called? Marilyn folded her arms. You are trying to turn concern into sabotage. I have not heard the message. Then you do not know what it says. You do? The answer reached her face before she stopped it. She looked at Paul. Not me. He pressed the medication pouch against his chest. I need both of you to stop. Marilyn touched his shoulder. Go lie down. He allowed her to turn him toward the hall. I said, Paul, the employer asked you for clarification. You chose not to respond. He stopped. Marilyn's hand remained on his shoulder. You told me they rejected me, he said. They were questioning your safety. You said the offer was gone. It would have humiliated you to beg. I could have answered. You did not want to. I was afraid. That is why I protected you. He turned his head enough to look at her. Did you tell Jessa to call? Marilyn's voice softened further. You are not well enough for this conversation. Paul stared at the floor, then walked back to his room. The door closed. Marilyn remained in the hall. You see what you do to him? I asked a question. You remove every protective layer and call what remains truth. Was Jessa acting on your instruction? She loves her father. That is not an answer. You always demand words that make people sound guilty. I am asking who made the call? Your sister. Why? Because she had concerns. Whose concerns? Marilyn looked toward the stairs. The Linder call is at 7? Yes. You need to wash your face. She returned to her room. No answer. At 6:08, I opened the clinic folder from 7 months earlier. Jessa had asked me to review it when the supervisory offer disappeared. She believed the clinic had confused her with another employee. The folder came from an ordinary email she forwarded to me. No private clinic login. No employee database. The original thread included provisional supervisory offer, salary schedule, regular hours, training date. Then a withdrawal notice after the clinic received an anonymous client record complaint. Jessa had replied, demanding evidence. The clinic provided a limited archive because the complaint directly affected her offer. The complaint alleged that Jessa had copied client contact information from a former salon and would use it to build a personal brand. The sender used a generic address. At the time, I read the accusation and told Jessa to provide her former employer's release records. She said it was too humiliating. The archive contained 2 details I had ignored. An attached budgeting worksheet. File. Money Without Shannon. Document author field. Marilyn Ellis. The second detail sat inside the clinic's automated sender verification page. The generic complaint address used a recovery contact when the clinic requested clarification. Recovery address. Marilyn's household email. The same address now listed as administrative contact on the equipment application. Neither detail alone explained motive. Together, they connected Marilyn to the complaint package. I searched the family messages from that week. Marilyn had written to Paul, "If the clinic makes Jessa comfortable, she will move out before the page grows. She needs something that keeps the family story together." Paul replied, "She needs stable work." Marilyn, "She needs ownership, not another place that can dismiss her." The studio did not yet exist. 3 weeks later, Marilyn began sending Jessa treatment suite listings. I marked a chain. Clinic archive proves complaint and attachments. Comment author and recovery contact connect complaint package to Marilyn's account. Family message supplies concern about Jessa leaving and family brand. The evidence did not prove the complaint allegations were false by itself. The clinic's later review did. A final message inside the archive stated that the clinic found no record supporting the client data allegation, but had already filled the supervisory role during the review period. Jessa lost the offer. Marilyn then presented the studio as rescue. At 6:37, I opened Paul's voicemail attachment. Not through speakers, headphones. Jessa's voice, controlled, professional. "This is Jessa Ellis, Paul Ellis's daughter. I understand you are considering him for customer-facing work. He has episodes where he becomes confused under pressure and cannot complete ordinary decisions. Our family does not believe he can safely advise customers or handle corrective products. Please call me before allowing him to begin. Callback number. Jessa's. No mention of a doctor. No claim that Paul had asked her to speak. She had turned his conflict paralysis into a workplace safety warning. The employer's request for clarification had offered him a route back. Paul never took it. 6 days later, the studio paid him $3,500. I listened once more, not to intensify it, to ensure I had heard the exact words. Then preserved. Original forwarded email. Original audio attachment. Employer note. Callback number. Studio ledger. I did not send the voicemail to the lender. It had nothing to do with whether I accepted equipment. I placed it in a separate kitchen folder. Career records. At 6:55, the lender reviewer sent, "Identity review substantially complete. Written determination pending final authorization." The kitchen call was scheduled for 5 minutes. I closed every lender file except the consolidated index. Closed the education account folder. Closed the career records? 3 separate stacks. Loan. Kayla. Employment. No document allowed to borrow authority from another. I carried them downstairs. The kitchen looked almost identical to Marilyn's videos. Cold coffee beside the pot. Utility notices face down beneath the ceramic bowl. Studio equipment invoices arranged near Jessa's seat. Kayla's education statement in front of me. Nora's scratched loop beside it. Paul sat at the far end with his medication pouch. Jessa entered through the rear door wearing her charcoal studio uniform. Marilyn stood behind my chair, holding a pale cardigan. "You cannot appear on a lender call looking like that," she said. The right sleeve of my work shirt carried a white line of edging dust. My worn laboratory shoes remained on my feet. Marilyn placed the cardigan over the chair, then opened a small concealer tube. Before touching my face, she smiled as though we had returned to a version of the morning where appearance could still determine ownership. Behind her, the studio ledger held Paul's payment. The clinic archive held Marilyn's complaint. The employer email held Jessa's voice. Marilyn had destroyed the job that could let Jessa leave. Jessa had damaged the job that could let Paul return. Paul had accepted studio money and called his dependence neutrality. They had not protected one another from instability. They had protected the household from anyone becoming independent enough to say no. The lender call connected at 7. The lender representative's voice entered through the speaker at exactly 7. Marilyn still held the concealer wand beside my face. "Good morning," the representative said. "Before we begin, I need to confirm who is present." Marilyn touched one finger beneath my right eye. The concealer felt cold. I remained still. The ring light was off, but she had placed a small makeup mirror beside the coffee pot. "Cora Ellis," I said. "Marilyn Ellis," my mother answered. "Jessa Ellis." Paul cleared his throat. "Paul Ellis." The representative read the dispute case number, then asked whether everyone understood that the call concerned only the equipment application, delivery acceptance, and identity review. "Yes," I said. Jessa answered after me. Marilyn said, "Of course, though there are family circumstances the documents cannot explain." The representative continued. "Employment matters, unrelated household disputes, and the full history of any education account are outside the scope of this call, unless they directly concern the application funding record." I looked at the 3 folders. Loan. Kayla. Employment. The separation already existed before she stated it. Paul said nothing. Marilyn replaced the concealer cap. "Cora has not slept," she said. "I am trying to help her look less distressed." The representative did not respond. Marilyn smoothed my hair behind both ears. A motion she had used before school photographs, before parent meetings, before relatives arrived after an argument. Adjust the visible surface. Leave the pressure beneath it. She placed the pale cardigan over my shoulders. The fabric smelled faintly of her laundry detergent. "This color makes you look softer," she whispered. I let her straighten the collar, let her pull one sleeve over the edging dust on my work shirt, let her step back and examine the version of me she believed a lender would trust. Then I removed the cardigan, folded it once, placed it over the back of the chair. My laboratory shirt remained beneath it. Marilyn's mouth tightened. The concealer stayed. I did not need to erase every part of the performance, only refuse the role it was meant to assign. The representative asked whether the speakerphone was in a private location. "The family kitchen," I said. "Is anyone else able to hear?" "No." The rear door stood open to the driveway. Gray pre-dawn air entered through the screen. No neighbor, no passerby. Anyone at the table could leave. The evidence would remain inside the lender's case. The representative confirmed that the call was being documented through ordinary case notes. No secret recording announcement. No dramatic warning. She asked each person to answer only for actions they personally knew about. Marilyn leaned toward the phone. "I appreciate that. A great deal of confusion has come from Cora interpreting everyone's intentions." The representative said, "Miss Marilyn Ellis, please describe your role in the application." Marilyn placed both hands around the cold coffee cup. "The equipment gentleman kept turning screens toward me. I helped enter family contact information because Jessa was speaking with the delivery company. I believed Cora was participating as a quiet partner." "What made you believe that?" "She has always supported family projects." "Did she specifically authorize this equipment application?" "She discussed helping." "When?" "Over several conversations." "Did she say the amount?" "No." "Did she say her registration could be used?" "She explained business structures to us." "That was not my question." Marilyn smiled weakly at the speaker. "You see how technical language becomes difficult for me?" The representative repeated it. "Did Cora Ellis tell you that her sole proprietor registration could be used for this application?" Marilyn folded the corner of a paper napkin. She knew Jessa needed stable ownership. "Is that a yes or no?" Marilyn looked at me. "No exact sentence comes to mind." The napkin corner became a smaller triangle. The representative asked whether Marilyn uploaded my identification. "I may have clicked the upload button." "Did you select the identification file?" "The documents were in a household folder." "Did you know the file belonged to Cora?" "Yes." "Why did you attach it?" "I thought the lender required proof of the supporting partner." "Did Cora authorize you to attach it?" "I believe she had." "Did you ask?" Marilyn pressed the fold flat with one thumbnail. "We do not normally require formal permission for family paperwork." The representative entered a note. I could hear the keyboard. Marilyn heard it too. She shifted from confusion to injury. "Cora has handled our accounts for years. She has used my information when helping with utilities." I said nothing. The representative asked, "Miss Cora Ellis, have you used Marilyn Ellis's information without her authorization?" "No." "I have completed household forms at her request while she was present or after receiving the needed information from her." Marilyn looked at me. "That is your interpretation." "It is my answer." The representative returned to her. "Did Cora request that you complete this equipment application?" "No." "Did she request that you accept delivery?" "No." "Did she authorize Jessa to sign?" "I thought she would." The representative paused. "Expectation is not authorization." Marilyn unfolded the napkin, then folded it along another edge. Jessa leaned toward the speaker. "This is making Mom sound like she planned something she did not understand." The representative said, "Miss Jessa Ellis, I will ask about your role now." Jessa straightened in her chair. Her charcoal studio uniform had been pressed. The gold logo over her chest reflected the kitchen light. "Cora agreed to help me launch," she said. "What did she agree to provide?" "Business guidance, financial stability, ownership support." "Did she agree to borrow $52,800? "She knew equipment was expensive." "Did she know the final amount?" "I assumed Mom told her." "Did you tell her?" "No." "Did you obtain written authority for her registration?" Well, our sisters. The representative did not fill the silence. Jessa added, Cora always documents things after deciding she is angry. That does not mean the original conversation did not happen. Where did the original conversation occur? At home. When? Over several months. Who was present? Mom? Dad? Sometimes Kayla. Did Cora state that you could sign delivery documents for her? She told me not to delay the studio. I looked at Jessa. Which words did I use? She turned toward me. You said I should stop waiting for perfect conditions. That was after you canceled your third room rental. It was business advice. It was not authorization. The representative intervened. One person at a time. Ms. Jessa Ellis, did Cora say, you may sign delivery documents for me? Or words with the same meaning? Jessa's jaw tightened. Not in that formal way. Did you sign the delivery receipt? Yes. In whose name? I signed my own name as representative. Who told you that you were Cora's representative? Mom said the application listed me that way. Marilyn looked at her. I said you were the operating provider. You told me Cora was the owner. I believed she was. You said she had already agreed. I believed she had. The sentence moved around the table. Believed. Assumed. Expected. Family support. No one could place permission in a specific room, time, or sentence. The representative asked Jessa to describe the delivery. Jessa said the equipment arrived at 2:14. The driver brought treatment lamp, reclining table, sterilizing cabinet, imaging system, boxes containing fixtures. She checked the serial list. Signed the pad. Marilyn stood nearby with the application packet. Was Cora present? The representative asked. No. Did you speak with her during delivery? No. Did you call her? No. Did she send a message accepting delivery? No. Why did you complete it? Because the driver said the equipment would be returned if no one signed. Did he tell you to sign on Cora's behalf? He said an authorized representative could sign. Were you authorized? Jessa looked toward Marilyn. I believed I was. The representative asked whether she recognized the reflected figure in the Linder photograph wearing the dark uniform. Jessa's shoulders moved backward. It could be me. Were you wearing that uniform? Yes. Does the left hand in the reflection resemble yours? The image is distorted. Do you have a scar on your left thumb? Yes. Were you using the signature pad? Yes. No accusation was needed. The ordinary questions narrowed the reflection until denial required rejecting her own delivery account. The representative asked Marilyn whether she was present. Marilyn touched the napkin. I stopped by. Were you wearing a blue and cream quilted housecoat? I may have been. Did you carry Cora's identification? I had the document packet. Was her identification inside it? I assume so. Did you know she was at work? Marilyn looked toward Paul. I knew she had a shift. Did you tell the delivery worker that Cora was not present? The driver did not ask me. Did you tell the lender? I thought Jessa's signature was enough. The representative entered more notes. The kitchen clock moved past 7:18. 11 hours and 29 minutes remained on the original countdown. The finalization was still paused. No written determination had arrived. Marilyn poured coffee from the pot. The liquid had gone cold. She drank anyway. The representative asked whether anyone disputed my attendance record. Jessa said, she was probably at work. Marilyn said, I have never claimed she physically carried the equipment. The application identified her as the responsible owner who accepted delivery, the representative said. I thought acceptance could happen through family. Did she authorize that? Marilyn looked toward the rear door. The sky behind the screen had begun to lighten. She would have helped if everyone had given her time to calm down. I spoke for the first time in several minutes. Thank you. I need that statement included exactly. Marilyn looked at me. You know what I mean. Yes. You are twisting it. I am asking the lender to preserve it. The representative said, It is already reflected in my case notes. Marilyn placed the coffee cup down. You are all treating a family misunderstanding like an identity event, the representative replied. The review concerns whether Cora authorized the application and accepted delivery. She benefited from the studio opening. How? It improved the family's financial future. Did she receive money? No. Equipment? No. Ownership? We intended to create it. Was it created? Not yet. Did she sign an ownership agreement? No. Did she receive the lease? No. Did she control the studio account? No. Marilyn's voice became firmer. She controlled whether we survived the launch. That answer entered the room differently. Not helpless, not confused. A person who understood leverage. Jessa looked at her. Paul stared at the medication pouch. The representative asked about the $17,400 required contribution because it appeared in the equipment application funding record. She did not ask for Kayla's entire account, only whether I had authorized the contribution. No, I said. Marilyn interrupted. That matter is under separate review. Yes, the representative said. I am asking only whether Cora authorized the funding representation attached to this application. No, I repeated. Jessa said, Mom told me the family account could support the lease. Did you know it was Kayla's education reserve? The representative asked. Not when the transfer started. When did you learn? Last night. Did you request the lease escrow return the funds? Jessa looked at the equipment invoice. The lease depends on that contribution. That was not my question. No. The representative noted it. Marilyn said, returning the money now would collapse the studio and make recovery impossible. The phrasing sounded like a prepared argument, not a woman clicking whatever appeared. The representative asked whether Marilyn initiated the transfer request. That service is reviewing permissions. Did you prepare the request? I completed the fields. Did you identify the destination? Jessa gave me the escrow information. Did you enter $17,400? Yes. Did you characterize it as an educational family enterprise contribution? I had to put something in the purpose box. You understood the purpose box. Marilyn looked at me. This is what she does. She takes ordinary competence and uses it to make me sound deceptive. I kept the customer service voice. The question was whether you understood the field. Marilyn's lips pressed together. Yes. The representative did not discuss whether the transfer was valid. She stated that the Education Account Service would decide its own authorization review. For the lender case, the transfer showed that startup funding had been represented as approved family capital, while I disputed both the source and my ownership. Paul shifted in his chair. I need this to stop soon. The representative asked whether he wanted to leave the call. No, I need everyone to remain calm. Marilyn touched his forearm. His chest has been bothering him. I turned toward him. Do you need medical assistance? No. Do you need me to call anyone? No. Then the call can continue. He stared at me. You make everything sound mechanical. I am separating care from the question. What question? The representative answered before I did. Mr. Ellis, did you hear Cora authorize the equipment application? Paul pressed one palm against his chest. I cannot choose between my wife and daughter. You are not being asked whom you support. Did you hear authorization? I heard discussions about helping Jessa. Did you hear Cora approve the amount? No. Did you hear her approve use of her registration? Not specifically. Did you hear her authorize Jessa to sign delivery? No. Marilyn said, Paul does not remember details under stress. The representative asked him directly, Are your answers accurate to the best of your current memory? Paul looked toward Marilyn. Then, at the medication pouch, Yes. Did you know Cora was at work when delivery occurred? I knew she was scheduled. Did you believe she had gone to the studio? No. Did you tell the lender or delivery company that she was absent? No. Why not? I was not part of the equipment paperwork. The studio ledger rested inside the closed family folder near my hand. His $3,500 payment remained outside this call's necessary scope. I did not open it. The representative did not ask. Paul had answered the lender's questions. The rest would wait. At 7:42, the representative summarized the record. I had not authenticated the application. No acceptance came from my established phone, email, or device. I was documented at work 14 miles away. Jessa signed delivery. The equipment went to Jessa's treatment room. Marilyn participated in application administration and held the document packet. No written authority established that either woman could act for me. The chrome reflection was consistent with their own descriptions of being present. The reflected room label matched the delivery manifest. No equipment, funds, or ownership interest went to me. Marilyn interrupted. You are leaving out the years Cora supported this family, the representative said. Those years do not establish authorization for this transaction. The napkin tore between Marilyn's fingers. Only a small sound. She placed the two pieces beside the coffee cup. Jessa leaned forward. Can we submit a partnership agreement now? Not as evidence of prior authorization, unless Cora independently agrees and the document accurately reflects the timing. Marilyn looked at me. You could correct this. No. Think carefully. I have. You will close the studio. The application used my identity. Well, can restructure it later. No. Kayla needs family stability. Her account needs recovery. Paul raised one hand. Please. I looked at him. No one spoke until he lowered it. The representative said the lender had completed the factual review. Final authorization remained with the identity review supervisor. A determination could arrive during the call or shortly afterward. Marilyn's voice softened. Before you decide, I need you to understand that Cora is under severe emotional pressure. She received attention at work and became resentful when Jessa's studio began receiving public interest. I looked at the speaker. The customer service voice came without effort now. My work recognition occurred before I learned about the application. My attendance record, communication history, and delivery records do not depend on my emotional state. Jessa said, she has always resented visible success. The receipt signer remains you. You see how cold she is? The delivery time remains 2:14. She wants us punished. My laboratory record remains active through 3:06. Marilyn said, Cora, stop speaking like a machine. I looked at the cold coffee, the utility notices, the equipment invoice, Nora's loop, the pale cardigan folded over the chair. I am using the same voice I use when someone blames me for a prescription written by another person. Jessa laughed once. Exactly. You treat family like customers. No, you treated my identity like store credit. Marilyn stood. The rear door remained open behind her. She could leave. Instead, she stayed because the lender had not yet stated who owned the debt. You agreed to support your sister, she said. I did not agree to this loan. You knew she needed equipment. I did not approve the application. You knew she needed someone with stable income. I did not authorize my registration. You knew I had the document folder. I did not authorize reuse. You knew Jessa would fail without help. I did not authorize her signature. Every sentence returned to the same boundary. Marilyn could change the emotional label. Support. Family. Future. Stability. The answer did not change. At 8:03, an electronic notification appeared on my phone. Identity review document available. Informed choice is the only way. The lender representative paused. I see that the written determination has been authorized. Marilyn stopped moving. Jessa stared at the phone in my hand. Paul lowered the medication pouch to the table. The representative continued. Miss Cora Ellis, please open the document through your case portal and confirm when it is visible. I entered the case number. The determination loaded. Ordinary lender letterhead. 3 pages. No red banner. No dramatic alert. The first paragraph began with my name. The representative asked, "Do you acknowledge receipt of the written identity determination?" "I acknowledge receipt," I said. The lender representative asked me to read the account status paragraph silently before she summarized it. I moved past the letterhead, past the case number, past the list of materials reviewed. The determination stated that the lender had not found authenticated evidence that I authorized the application or accepted the equipment delivery. My established phone had not confirmed the transaction. My established email had not confirmed it. No device linked to my previous lender profile had accepted it. The delivery went to Jessa's treatment room. Jessa signed the receipt. My attendance record placed me inside the optical laboratory 14 miles away. The preserved delivery photograph supported the presence of the people already connected to the studio and application records. The conclusion appeared in the middle of the first page. The $52,800 equipment obligation would not remain attached to my identity. I read it twice, not because the language was difficult, because for more than 12 hours, every calculation in my head had begun with a debt I had not created. The representative said, "Miss Ellis, the lender has determined that you did not authorize or accept this equipment transaction." Marilyn sat down slowly. Jessa's hands remained flat on the table. Paul looked at the speaker instead of the floor. The representative continued, "The disputed obligation is being removed from your borrower profile. Collection and contract review will be redirected toward the studio entity, the individuals who completed the application and delivery, and the equipment subject to the agreement." Jessa leaned toward the phone. "Does that mean the studio loses the equipment?" "I cannot discuss recovery decisions with you through Cora's identity review call." I signed as representative. The determination states that no authority from Cora was established. We can submit a new agreement. You may contact the equipment contract department through your own account. Marilyn lifted one torn half of the napkin. "There has been no loss to the lender. The equipment is sitting inside the studio." "That issue belongs to the contract review," the representative said. "If Cora signs now, can the decision be reversed?" I answered before the representative could. "No." Marilyn turned toward me. "I was asking the lender." The representative said, "Any future application would require a new process and independent authorization. This determination will not be rewritten to describe prior consent that was not established." Jessa pushed her chair backward half an inch. The legs scraped tile. "You did not have to say no that quickly." "Yes, I did. You could have asked what happens to my lease." "The lender is not discussing your lease on my identity call." "You know what happens." "I know what happened to my name." Marilyn held her palm toward Jessa. "Let her finish. She wants the representative to hear how reasonable she sounds." The representative did not respond to that. She confirmed that the lender's preserved original photograph, the delivery record, and the identity review file would remain with the case. She also confirmed that I had no future service obligation connected to the studio equipment, no payment arrangement, no silent partner duty, no requirement to help Jessa refinance, no responsibility to maintain the equipment. The finalization deadline remained visible in the portal, but the obligation had already been removed before it expired. The countdown no longer belonged to me. The kitchen printer sat on a narrow cabinet beside the utility notices. I sent the determination to it. 3 sheets fed into the tray. The rollers made a soft mechanical sound beneath the lender representative's final instructions. I took the pages from the printer, checked that the case number and conclusion were complete, then returned to the table. No highlighted line, no colored tabs, no handwritten accusation. I placed the determination in front of Marilyn and pushed it across the cold coffee ring. The bottom page stopped beside the folded napkin. "The lender has already determined who did not accept the equipment," I said. Marilyn did not touch the paper. Jessa pulled it toward herself. Her eyes moved quickly across the first page. "This says actual recipients." "Yes." That could mean the lease account. It means recovery no longer starts with me. Paul's hand settled over the medication pouch. Can this be handled without everyone losing everything? The representative said, Mr. Ellis, the identity determination is complete. Further questions about the studio must be directed through the appropriate account holders. Marilyn lifted her voice slightly. Well, are the appropriate account holders, but the family consequence belongs to Cora too. No, I said. The customer service voice remained steady. The same voice I used when someone placed a distorted lens on the pickup counter and insisted my department had written the prescription. The family consequence does not recreate authorization. Marilyn looked at the speaker. You hear how she speaks to us? The representative said, The review is closed. She gave me the written confirmation number. I repeated it back. No digit missed. No reason to call later and ask whether relief had been temporary. The representative ended the call at 8:12. The speaker went quiet. The rear door remained open. Morning light had reached the driveway, but not the kitchen floor. No one stood to leave. The determination lay between Marilyn and Jessa. The deadline had been the only reason for the lender to remain inside the family conversation. Now it was gone. I reached for the speakerphone, turned it off, then moved the loan folder to the far end of the table. The lender portion is finished, I said. Marilyn's expression changed. Not relief. Preparation. You have made your point. No. What else could you possibly need? Nothing from the lender. Jessa looked at the other folders. The studio ledger, Kayla's statement, career records. What is that? Your clinic archive. Her face tightened. The clinic has nothing to do with this. Not with the loan determination. Then leave it alone. Marilyn picked up the printed letter. You are enjoying the timing. I opened the clinic folder. No. You waited until the lender embarrassed us. The lender stated a determination. You made sure we were all sitting here. The deadline required the call. You arranged the rest. I arranged records by subject. Marilyn folded the determination once. A crease ran through the lender's logo. Cora has always believed that if she can label enough pieces, the family will become a laboratory tray. I took out Jessa's provisional supervisory offer. The clinic letterhead faced her. Regular schedule, stable salary, training date, supervisory title. The job she had once described as the first position where she would not have to rent a room, carry her own supplies between cars, or beg salon owners for better hours. Jessa stopped looking at me. Her attention moved to the date. What are you doing with that? You forwarded it to me when the offer was withdrawn. I know what it is. I placed the withdrawal email beneath it. Then, the clinic's complaint archive. Anonymous allegation. Claim that Jessa had mishandled client information. Attached worksheet. Money Wout Shipmaries. Document author, Marilyn Ellis. Recovery contact, Marilyn's household email. Marilyn remained still. Jessa read the document author field. Then the recovery contact. Her mouth opened slightly. This could have been attached by anyone. The clinic archive preserved the file they received. Mom's worksheets are public, Marilyn nodded. Exactly. The recovery contact was your household email, I said. Marilyn looked at me with the expression she used when a budgeting video reached a subject she wanted to simplify. Old accounts connect themselves to things. The clinic requested clarification from the complaint address. Your email appeared as its recovery contact. I may have helped someone set up an address. Who? I do not remember. Jessa turned toward her. You knew I applied there. Of course. You helped me practice the interview. I supported you. You told everyone it was finally stable. It looked stable. The paper napkin remained beneath Marilyn's right hand. She began folding the second half. Smaller rectangle. Then another. I placed the family message beside the complaint archive. Marilyn to Paul. If the clinic makes Jessa comfortable, she will move out before the page grows. She needs something that keeps the family story together. Paul. She needs stable work. Marilyn. She needs ownership, not another place that can dismiss her. Jessa read the messages. Her fingers tightened around the provisional offer. You sent this before the complaint? The messages are dated 2 days before the clinic received it, I said. Marilyn looked at Paul. He lowered his eyes. Jessa followed her gaze. You knew? Paul pressed one hand to his chest. I knew your mother was worried you would leave. Did you know she contacted the clinic? I did not know exactly what she sent. Marilyn touched his wrist. Do not let her force you into a false certainty. Jessa pulled the complaint archive closer. The clinic said I mishandled client records. I wanted them to look carefully before giving you responsibility. You had no client information. I had concerns. About what? You were moving too fast. I had a supervisory offer. You had a title from people who could take it away the first time someone complained. You were the someone. Marilyn unfolded the napkin rectangle, then flattened it against the table. The clinic was already questioning your readiness. The final archive says they found no record supporting the complaint. They filled the role. Because you delayed them, I protected you from building your life around an employer who did not trust you. You made them distrust me. Marilyn smiled weakly. The harmless face returned. I could barely understand their application system. You think I designed an employment campaign? You attached your worksheet. That proves nothing. You used your recovery email. Electronic accounts remember old information. You wrote Dad that I would leave if the clinic made me comfortable? That was a mother's fear. You ended the only stable job I earned. I gave you the studio. You used Cora's credit. To help you, you used Kayla's money to build something permanent. You took the clinic because you needed me desperate enough to accept this. Marilyn's smile disappeared, only for 1 second. Then denial reorganized itself. Jessa, you were miserable there. I had not started. You would have been. You do not know that. I know you. No. You needed me. Marilyn pressed both hands against the table. All mothers need their daughters. You needed the page. The page helped people. You needed the family story for the page. I built that story from what we survived. You created more to survive. Paul said, please lower your voices. Jessa turned toward him. You knew she wanted me dependent. I knew she was afraid. You accepted it. I tried to keep peace. You watched me blame myself. Paul's hand moved higher on his chest. I placed my phone beside him. Do you want medical help? No. Then answer her. He stared at me. You cannot keep doing that. Doing what? Turning every feeling into a yes or no question. I am separating your health from your answer. Marilyn said, he is visibly distressed. I have offered assistance twice. You should stop. He can leave. Paul did not move. Neither did Marilyn. Jessa looked at the clinic offer again. The gold studio logo on her uniform no longer held her posture upright. It looked stitched onto someone who had been given a visible business after her stable work had been removed. She placed the papers down. What else? The question was not for me alone. It entered the whole table. What else had been removed and renamed protection? I opened the employer email. Paul recognized it before I reached the audio attachment. No. Jessa looked toward him. What is that? The optical return offer, I said. Paul's former employer had offered limited hours, customer pickups, frame adjustments, basic optical support, a route back into paid work after 6 years. The employer withdrew the start date after receiving a family safety concern. I placed the printed employer note beside Paul. Caller identified herself as Jessa Ellis. Callback number. Jessa's personal phone. Jessa looked at the page, then at Paul. You forwarded this to Cora? I asked her to explain the email. Did you send her the recording? It was attached. Jessa's chair moved backward. Do not play that. Paul looked at her. Why? I was worried. You called my employer. You could not finish a sentence when customers pressured you. I had not started. You freeze. I was going back part-time. You were not ready. Did I ask you to call? Jessa looked at Marilyn. Marilyn did not answer for her. The alliance had lost the ability to coordinate quickly. I placed the phone on the table. Opened the original forwarded email. Selected the 31-second attachment. Paul received this from the employer, I said. The file remained attached to the message he forwarded to me. No secret source. No private employer portal. Paul's own email. Ordinary preservation. I played it. Jessa's recorded voice remained controlled. She identified herself by name. Described Paul as becoming confused under pressure. Said the family did not believe he could safely advise customers or handle corrective products. Asked the employer to call her before allowing him to begin. The recording ended. No one spoke. The coffee pot clicked as its warming plate shut off automatically. Paul looked at Jessa. You said the employer decided. They did, after you called. They asked for clarification. You told me there was no point answering. That was Mom. Marilyn looked at her. I told him that begging would humiliate him. You told me to make the call. Paul turned toward Marilyn. Jessa kept speaking. You said if he went back to optical work, he would start acting like the household did not need the studio. Marilyn's eyes narrowed. That is not what I said. You said the studio needed everyone committed. I said divided attention could hurt the launch. You told me his old employer used him. They did. You said he was too anxious to know what was good for him. He was. Paul's breathing became shallow. I moved the phone closer. I can call for help. No. Do you need to leave the table? No. His answer had more force than before. He looked at Jessa. You used the thing I was most ashamed of. I thought you would fail in front of customers. You did not ask. You would have said you were fine. I had the right to answer for myself. Jessa looked toward the open rear door. You never answer anything. The sentence reached him cleanly. No comfort around it. Paul's face tightened. I was trying. You were hiding. I was trying to go back. You let Mom talk you out of responding. She said the studio would include me. Jessa laughed once. Small. Bitter. Include you as what? I opened the studio ledger. The $3,500 payment sat on the second page. Paul Ellis, Optical Consulting. I placed it beside the employer email. Paul looked at the amount. Jessa looked at him. Marilyn closed her eyes. You took money, Jessa said. Paul pressed his lips together. Startup support. You did not work at the studio. I advised. On what? Customer experience. You never entered the treatment room before last week. I reviewed ideas. You accepted $3,500 after my call cost you the job. The payment was not for silence. No one had used that word. Paul heard it anyway. Jessa looked toward Marilyn. You paid him. The studio compensated family contributions. With money from Kayla's a country. The studio ledger does not identify which dollar came from which source, I said. Marilyn seized the distinction. Exactly. The ledger proves the studio paid Paul, I continued. The education statement proves $17,400 entered the lease escrow. Those are separate records. Jessa looked at Paul. Did you know Mom contacted my clinic? His hand remained against his chest. I knew she had concerns. Did you know she sent the complaint? I saw the worksheet on the printer. Marilyn turned toward him. Paul. He kept looking at Jessa. I asked why she printed it. She said the clinic needed context. You knew. I did not know she would attach it. You knew after. Yes. And you let me believe I lost the job because they found something? I wanted the studio to work. Because they paid you. Because your mother said it would give us all a place. Jessa looked at the $3,500 line. A place. Paul's voice broke. I thought if I had a role, I could start again without strangers watching me freeze. So you let her trap me into needing the studio. I did not think of it that way. You did not want to. Paul looked at me, not for an answer. For rescue. The habit moved across his face before he recognized it. I did not translate the situation into something easier. Marilyn spoke instead. You are all allowing Cora to arrange unrelated pains until they look like one conspiracy. I folded my hands beside Nora's loop. Customer service voice, empty of the reaction she expected. The clinic archive shows you sent the complaint package. It shows my worksheet and your recovery email. Old account information. The family messages show you were afraid stable employment would let Jessa leave. That is an interpretation. The clinic found no support for the allegation. They could have missed something. Jessa had not started the position. She had worked elsewhere. You did not identify a client. I was protecting the clinic. You were protecting the family brand. Marilyn smiled weakly. People know what I have done for this family. The lender knows what you did with my identification. Do not confuse systems with truth. The Education Service knows which profile prepared Kayla's transfer. You trained me to help with those accounts. Preparing contributions was not permission to remove them. The clinic archive knows where the complaint recovery email led. Technology links things incorrectly. Jessa's employer offer disappeared after your complaint. She would have left. The final sentence came out before she covered it. Jessa stopped moving. Marilyn looked down at the napkin. No helplessness remained in the room. Only motive. Paul removed his hand from his chest. You did it because she would leave. I did it because she mistakes escape for stability. You told me you did not send anything. I told you the clinic was not right for her. You let her think she failed. She needed the studio more than she needed another employer. Jessa stood. The chair legs scraped backward. No one blocked the rear door. You needed me on your page. Marilyn looked up. I built that audience for us. There is no us. Everything I taught came from this family. You needed a daughter who kept failing in public so you could keep teaching recovery. That is cruel. You made it true. Jessa removed the studio badge from her uniform. The adhesive backing caught against the fabric. She pulled harder. A small square of thread lifted with it. Then she placed the badge beside the clinic archive. Paul looked at her. You called my employer because she told you to. I called because I was afraid you would embarrass us. The answer hurt him more than denial would have. His face folded inward. Not a medical performance. Not an escape. The sentence had reached the part of him that still remembered fitting frames across a customer's nose and being trusted to tell them whether the world sat level. Jessa continued. You stared at the floor every time Mom took something from Cora. I thought that was weakness. Then I realized you could still say no when the thing being taken belonged to you. Paul looked at the $3,500 payment. I wanted to matter again. So did I. Marilyn stood. You both mattered because I kept this family visible. No, Jessa said. You kept us dependent enough to film. The rear door moved slightly in the morning air. Still open. Still no barrier. Jessa could walk out. Instead, she remained because the employment documents were now hers to read, and leaving would not return the promotion. Paul could leave. He remained because the voicemail would still exist. Marilyn could leave. She remained because the identity determination would stay on the table without her explanation. I placed the clinic archive back into its folder. Then Paul's employer email. Then the studio ledger. No prolonged lecture. Each source had already carried its part. The loan determination did not prove career sabotage. The clinic archive did. The voicemail did not prove Paul's payment purchased silence. The ledger proved payment. Paul's own answer established why he had remained quiet. Marilyn looked toward me. You think this makes you free? The loan determination does. You still live in this house. Temporarily. You pay the phone account, not after separation. Your father needs appointments. He can authorize another scheduler or manage them himself. You know he cannot. Paul looked up. I can. Marilyn turned toward him. You missed 2 last year because you moved the reminders. I was managing the calendar. You were managing me. She looked back at me. Kayla needs this family. Kayla needs her account restored. You will take her away. I am relocating with my daughter. You planned that before the loan. Yes. Jessa looked at me. You already had a place? Provisional approval. You never told us. I was not required to. Marilyn's face sharpened. You lived under this roof while planning to abandon us. I paid under this roof while preparing to leave it. You used us. The accusation entered the kitchen and found no surface to hold. My registration had funded the application. My income had supported the household. My phone plan had carried their numbers. My daughter's reserve had funded the lease. I did not answer. From the loan folder, I removed one final item. An attorney's card, plain white, name, office number, civil identity, and account disputes. I placed it beside the cold coffee cup. Marilyn stared at it. What is that supposed to mean? It means I am not discussing the loan, Kayla's account, studio assets, my registration, or reimbursement arrangements privately after this morning. You hired someone against your family. I hired someone to keep family access separate from legal authority. We can resolve this ourselves. No. You do not need a stranger. I needed a lender representative to determine I was not at your delivery. You are escalating. The equipment agreement is no longer mine. You will still answer your mother. Not about these matters. Marilyn picked up the card, read the name, placed it down again. You are making a permanent decision while exhausted. The lender's record is permanent. Sleep first. I have already missed enough sleep. Jessa looked at the clinic archive. Paul looked at the transfer line. The identity determination remained creased beneath Marilyn's hand. I stood. No one followed. The customer service voice stayed with me for the last sentence because anger had already carried enough unpaid labor in that house. The loan is removed from my name. Kayla's account is under recovery, and I have already missed enough sleep for this family. So every new explanation goes to the attorney on that card. I took Nora's loop from the table. The pale cardigan remained folded over the chair. The concealer still covered the shadows beneath my eyes. Marilyn had adjusted the surface. The records had measured the distortion beneath it. I walked through the open rear door into the driveway. No one stopped me. Marilyn's complaint reached the laboratory before I returned for my next scheduled shift. She submitted it through the public customer contact form at 9:26 that morning. Subject: misuse of optical technology and private family images. She wrote that I had used professional laboratory equipment to alter a delivery photograph, identify family members through distorted reflections, and pressure a lender into canceling a valid obligation. She described herself as an older woman unfamiliar with digital systems. She said my employer should investigate whether customer technology had been redirected toward personal retaliation. The complaint did not include the delivery photograph. It did include the lender case number, the same case number Marilyn had claimed she barely understood. My supervisor met me beside Tray Station 6. No accusation, no suspension. She handed me a printed review notice and asked me to describe what equipment I had used. Personal laptop. Laboratory imaging station? No. Customer lens scanner? No. Coding inspection camera? No. Edging machine camera? No. Any customer workstation? No. Where did you open the image? At home and on my personal laptop beside the pickup counter. Did you connect the laptop to our network? Guest wireless only. What did the loop belong to? Me. She looked at the scratched black case in my hand. Nora's? Yes. My supervisor remembered Nora. Everyone who had worked in the finishing department long enough remembered the way she rejected a lens without apologizing to the production schedule. The employer reviewed my workstation access, machine logins, restricted equipment records, guest network connection, my shift attendance, the limited HR letter already supplied to the lender. No customer prescription record had been opened outside my assigned trays. No laboratory imaging device had processed the delivery photograph. No client frame, lens, or account had been involved. The lender confirmed in writing that its review staff had examined the original image preserved inside its own system. Their determination did not depend on any altered files supplied by me. The laboratory closed the complaint after 4 business days. No discipline. No warning. No finding that I had used company technology. The final paragraph stated that the employer would not mediate a private family dispute unrelated to laboratory operations. Marilyn's complaint remained attached to the internal file. So did her statement that she knew I had examined the same delivery image connected to the lender case. She had tried to describe the image as manipulated. Instead, she created another dated document connecting herself to the dispute after the lender had already preserved the original. My supervisor returned the review notice. You still want the quality line position?
Yes.
Training starts Monday. That was all. No speech about surviving adversity. No promotion created because my family had failed to attach a loan to me. The position had been mine before the notice arrived. I finally had enough space to accept it without wondering which household emergency would consume the additional pay. The equipment contract process moved separately. The lender had removed my identity. It had not erased the delivery. Jessa had signed the receipt. The chrome lamp, treatment table, sterilizing cabinet, and imaging equipment remained inside her studio. The contract department offered the studio entity an opportunity to submit a valid, responsible owner. New financial qualification. Independent authorization. Jessa could not qualify alone. Marilyn could not replace my income history with her budgeting page. Paul's studio payment did not make him an owner. No one produced an authenticated agreement placing the equipment under a new borrower. The studio missed the first revised payment deadline. A written recovery notice followed. Jessa had 10 days to return the listed equipment or enter an approved agreement. She spent the first 6 days calling relatives. Not me. The attorney received 2 messages from her instead. One asked whether I would sign a temporary equipment guarantee until the launch generated revenue. The other said refusal would reduce the funds available for Kayla's recovery. My attorney answered once. Cora Ellis will not assume any studio ownership, debt, guarantee, service duty, or equipment responsibility. Future communication concerning the studio must remain between the actual account parties and their representatives. The equipment contractor collected the property through the studio's front entrance. No forced entry. No public scene. Jessa unlocked the door. Serial numbers matched the delivery manifest. Chrome lamp. Reclining table. Imaging unit. Sterilizing cabinet. Unopened decorative lighting. The curved reception desk was not lender equipment. It remained beneath the gold studio logo after the treatment room had been emptied. Without the lamp and imaging unit, the room looked larger, not established, only expensive. Kayla's account took longer. After the education service confirmed that Marilyn's administrative helper role did not authorize the studio transfer, Kayla's account custodian retained a civil representative. The representative filed a recovery claim against the remaining lease escrow, refundable studio deposits, launch event payments that had not yet been earned, any studio assets purchased directly from the disputed transfer. The filing occurred before money was redirected, before vendors issued refunds, before anyone promised Kayla would be made whole. The lease escrow still held part of the original $17,400. The landlord deducted application costs, 2 weeks of contracted occupancy, damage to one wall where the studio logo had been mounted, The remaining balance returned to the recovery account. The launch company refunded the unused portion of the event package. A towel vendor returned payment for unopened boxes. The reception desk company refused a full refund because the desk had been custom built. It purchased the desk back at a reduced amount after another salon ordered a similar size. Each recovery arrived separately. The first statement restored $4,800. The second added the remaining lease deposit. The third added vendor refunds. The account was reopened under authority that excluded Marilyn from transfer preparation and household email confirmation. I remained Kayla's contributor. No family business purpose field. No studio escrow. No administrative helper able to convert education into enterprise support. The unpaid balance entered a civil repayment agreement shared by Marilyn and Jessa, according to the transactions each had initiated or received. They did not repay it in one dramatic amount. Monthly transfers appeared, some late, some partial. The account statement marked each one. Kayla knew money had been moved and that adults were restoring it. She did not receive the clinic archive, did not hear Paul's voicemail, did not become the messenger between houses. When the first recovered funds appeared, I told her, "Your account is open again." "Is all of it back?" "Not yet." "Will it be?" "There is a repayment agreement." She considered that, then asked whether she could still apply to the science summer program. "Yes." The application fee came from my checking account, not from an advance against a recovery, not from Marilyn's promise that the studio would eventually make everyone secure. Money I had. Permission I gave. The family phone plan ended at the next billing cycle. I moved my number and Kayla's to a separate account. Paul received written notice of the change, his medication contacts, and the dates of his next 2 appointments. I sent one copy to him, one to the new contact he selected. After that, I stopped calling offices on his behalf. He missed the first reminder because he had not activated voicemail. He attended the appointment anyway. Marilyn later told relatives I had abandoned his care. Paul corrected her once. Cora transferred the information. I did not set up the phone correctly. It was the first complete sentence I heard him offer against her version without touching his chest. It did not repair what he had allowed. It proved he had always possessed language. The Neighborhood Vision Assistance Committee reviewed his involvement after the studio records circulated among its members, not the lender's private file. Paul had publicly endorsed Jessa's equipment project during a committee fundraiser and described himself as an unpaid optical advisor. The studio ledger showed he had received $3,500. He had not disclosed it. The committee removed him from its purchasing discussions and ended his volunteer advisor title. Paul called the consequence cruel, then admitted he should have declared the payment. Both statements could exist. Jessa's lease ended after the equipment left. She canceled launch appointments one by one. The clients had paid only small reservation fees. Those refunds reduced what remained for the studio. Several months later, she took a scheduling position at a low-cost skin treatment chain. Her station sat behind a reception counter. Headset, appointment grid, cancellation codes, refund rules. She once described my work as shaving plastic circles in a back room. Now she spent each shift maintaining records customers rarely saw unless something went wrong. The work itself was not humiliation. It required attention, accuracy, patience with people angry about policies she had not written. The first time she called me after starting, she said, "I understand the customer service voice now." I did not ask whether that was an apology. She did not offer one. I referred her to the attorney regarding the repayment schedule, then ended the call. Money Without Shame disappeared more quietly. Jessa provided the clinic archive to the Women's Center after Marilyn continued describing the lost promotion as proof that employers exploited young mothers. The center reviewed the complaint attachment carrying Marilyn's document authorship, the recovery email, the clinic's finding that the allegation was unsupported, the family message expressing fear that stable employment would allow Jessa to leave. The center removed Marilyn from its financial education directory. The Salon Association canceled her next workshop. A parent group stopped reposting her videos. No announcement declared her exposed. No crowd confronted her. Her page remained online for several weeks. Views fell. Comments stopped. Event photographs disappeared as organizers updated their pages. Then, Marilyn removed the account herself. In old group messages, the branded profile photograph became a gray circle beside advice about family cooperation. The name remained. Recognition did not. Marilyn printed a folder of workshop proposals and carried it to 3 clinic reception desks. One page offered, "Money without shame for working women." Another offered, "Building family brands after hardship." She asked the receptionists whether their managers remembered her seminars. At the first clinic, the receptionist searched the appointment system and said no person by that name was scheduled. At the second, someone directed her to a general vendor email. At the third, she waited beside a bowl of disposable reading glasses while patients checked in around her. The manager never came out. No one insulted her. No one recognized the authority she expected her name to carry. She had built protection from attention. When the attention disappeared, the protection went with it. I bought new laboratory shoes after my first quality line paycheck cleared. $92. Full tread beneath both heels. No discarded edging stone. No rubber powder in the kitchen sink. I kept the old pair in the training cabinet. A new finisher once asked why. "Traction can fail before the shoe looks damaged," I said. The same was true of a frame, a coating, a family system. The visible surface could remain intact after the supporting material had already begun to separate. I did not need Marilyn to admit that helplessness had been strategic. I did not need Jessa to rename my credit as something she had taken, or Paul to call silence cooperation. Clarity did not require agreement from the people who created the distortion. My labor, identity, sight, and daughter's future no longer existed to correct the household after someone else bent it. The apartment approval cleared after the lender removed the debt. I had already paid the holding deposit before the kitchen meeting. The cargo van had been reserved for the final Saturday of the month. Separate utilities began the day before. Kayla packed her books in boxes labeled by subject. I packed records first. Education account, business registration, lender determination, attorney correspondence, phone separation, then clothes, kitchen items I owned, Kayla's school supplies, the paper certificate from the Progressive Lens quality line. Before sunrise, I carried the final optical tool case through the open rear door. The driveway looked blue beneath the remaining night. The rented cargo van waited with both back doors open. Marilyn stood behind the kitchen curtain, only the outline of her shoulders visible. Paul remained in the hallway. He did not ask me to stay, did not request his medication pouch, did not say the pressure of leaving would make him ill. The house contained no speech large enough to change the account names. Kayla climbed into the passenger seat with her backpack. I placed the final tool case beside the boxes. Inside, personal gauges, small hand tools. Nora Pike's scratched 10-power loop. I opened the case once. The brass rim caught the driveway light. A clear reflection does not promise comfort. It only gives distortion somewhere measurable to end. I closed the case. Then the cargo doors. The latch seated with one ordinary metal click. No one came through the rear door. I drove away before the sun reached the kitchen windows.